Ladies and gents, I'm the one and only DJ Storms. Welcome back to the channel here on YouTube.com. It is Friday, July 10th, 2020. Happy Friday. Thank you for spending your mornings here with me on YouTube.com. 11:30, we are almost halfway done with July, almost halfway done with month 5 of this pandemic. So hopefully all of you have been maintaining your sanity, all of you have been staying safe, all of you have been doing good jobs at keeping social distancing, wearing your fucking masks. Wear them. Wear them. Well, you're going to have to answer to me. Anyway, this is the official rewind for WWE NXT, the Great American Bash, night number 2, which of course took place on the USA Network on Wednesday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. We got a lot to go over. I would say, for my opening thoughts, I would say fairly good show. Wasn't as good as Fyter Fest, mainly because the build and the production towards Fyter Fest, that was built up very, very nicely. Much better than the build and production towards the Great American Bash, especially since this was merely done to counter-program All Elite Wrestling, which I can't get behind whatsoever. But regardless, it was still a fairly good show. We got a lot to go over, including my thoughts on the main event, the ending of the main event, and why I actually do not like Keith Lee as a double champion. And I'm going to explain why and what is to come when we get to that point in time. But first things first. First things first. Please follow me on Twitter at HistoryMakerDJS. Find out why I am the Antichrist of the IWC. And everyone wants a piece of good old DJSTORMS. Follow me on Instagram and Periscope, if I can make myself laugh. Follow me on Instagram and Periscope at the DJ Storms as well. Add me on Facebook for collaborations and business inquiries. Please send me an email. StormsTakeOver@gmail.com is my email, like the official DJ Storms business page, and I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms posse group on Facebook. That is. All the links are in the description. If you missed the rewind for AEW Fyter Fest Night 1, Great American Bash Night 1, and Fyter Fest Night number 2, all links are in the description. Please go check them out. They've been doing great, especially Great American Bash Night number 1. That's actually over 200 views. You guys have been killing it there. So, I also want you guys to keep an eye out for the Lightning Flash update, of course, coming to you tomorrow afternoon. I got plenty to talk about on the Lightning Flash update, including 4 weekly show reviews, news, rumors, and reports. Shouldn't go as long, shouldn't go 2 hours, maybe 90 minutes, maybe a little less than 90 minutes, depending on how much time I spend on the weekly show reviews. We all know that that takes up the bulk of the Lightning Flash update. And also, next Thursday, 3 years of DJ Storms. Time flies, my friends. Send me a question if you haven't already done so. Send your questions on all my social medias. All the links are in the description. Send me some questions and I may shout you out and answer your question on the special Q&A video for my 3-year anniversary. I got the rundown for Extreme Rules coming next week as well. The rewind for Fight for the Fallen is going to go up next Friday. And, of course, the Lightning Flash update before Extreme Rules, or the horror show at Extreme Rules, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Here's what I want you guys to do. If you haven't already done so, hit that thumbs up. You gotta hit that thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, I got goals, I got ends I want to meet. Please, please, hit the thumbs up. Try and get this video to 30 likes. That's usually the normal goal. And when you like, you gotta comment down below. Comment down below your thoughts on the Great American Bash and what was your favorite moment, what was your least favorite moment, please. And when you comment, you gotta hit that subscribe button. I mean, if you're watching me, you better fucking be subscribed. And when you hit that subscribe button, you gotta hit the notifications bell with a huge coup de grace. That way you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it is the best time to be on YouTube. It's the only time you're gonna get to see this glorious sideburn chin strap combination. This beautiful quarantine mustache. I mean, come on. Everybody wants a piece of the Storms Meister. You already know. Anyway, enough of the advertisements and the self-brand promotion. Let's get straight into the review of the rewind for WWE NXT, the Great American Bash, night number 2. We started off with Mia Yim and Candice LeRae in a street fight. Great way to kick off the show. We had Mia Yim attacking Candice LeRae on the ramp right out of the gate. They were actually dressed in street clothes. Nice little detail there. Mia Yim bashed Candice with the kendo stick a few times before Candice took over. We had Mia Yim's shoulder getting bashed into the post. Then they brawled over the barricade, and LeRae used a fire extinguisher on Yim to gain the advantage. They were on a platform. Mia Yim drop-kicked Candice LeRae off the platform through a concessions table. Before we went to picture-in-picture, Candice LeRae came back and used a trash can lid on Mia Yim. Candice LeRae then propped up a table in the corner, and then she propped it on the top rope, like a platform on the top rope, similar to what happened with Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle back at that one pay-per-view in the early 2000s. So then we had Yim putting a trash can on Candice LeRae, nailing her with a punt kick and then a cannonball. And then we had Mia Yim doing a side press on Candice LeRae, but Candice LeRae was able to kick out. Yim brought out some brass knuckles in tribute to William Regal. Candice, though, she was able to fight out of Mia Yim's clutches. She avoided the brass knuckles and hit Mia Yim over the back with a couple of chairs. She tried to bury Mia Yim underneath the chairs. She went up to the platform, but Mia Yim followed suit. Candice LeRae took over and used the brass knucks against Mia Yim, and then delivered an avalanche swinging neckbreaker from the top onto the chairs. Great looking spot right there. And then she covered Mia Yim for the 1, 2, 3. Candice LeRae wins. Very good street fight. Right winner. Candice LeRae walks out the winner as she should. This is a nice win for Candice LeRae. This is definitely going to propel Candice LeRae into a possible NXT Women's Championship opportunity down the line. I like that they're taking their time with Candice LeRae. Candice LeRae, she's not going to be involved in any championship title pictures right now, not until the end of the year. Io Shirai's having a nice, lengthy reign with that title, at least 6 months. Io Shirai's not losing that title anytime soon. This summer is the summer of Shirai. And it's going to begin next week because Io Shirai is actually defending the NXT Women's Championship against Tegan Nox next week, which I think is going to be a great match. I can't wait for that. But nevertheless, this was a very good match. I do not know where Mia Yim goes from here, but right winner here with Candice LeRae. Very good match. Very nice stuff to kick off the Great American Bash night number 2. Bronson Reed versus Tony Nese. Very academic here. Nothing too crazy. Didn't even go 5 minutes. Really, you could have skipped over this if you wanted to. Nese attacked the leg of Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed mounted a comeback. We had a big corner clothesline. Nese with the triangle moonsault for a 2. Bronson Reed with a huge lariat, turning Nese inside out, and then the big super splash for the win. And that was it for Bronson Reed and Tony Nese. Bronson Reed gets the win. Rebounds off of his loss against Karrion Kross a few weeks back. Robert Stone, trying to recruit Shotzi Blackheart. She tried to recruit Shotzi Blackheart to the Robert Stone brand. I don't even want to comment on this, but you know I have to. So, Shotzi refused. He threw coffee over his head. It landed on Killian Dane. Killian Dane threw Robert Stone into a wall, and then Shotzi Blackheart ran over Robert Stone's leg with her tank. And that was that. Again, I want to ask the question, why did you break up Robert Stone and Chelsea Green? Again, I want to state, Chelsea Green has not been seen in over a month. It has almost been a month and a half since Chelsea Green dropped Robert Stone, and Chelsea Green has not been used on NXT whatsoever. Robert Stone has been the main focus of this breakup. I'm telling you right now, this was a Vincent Kennedy McMahon initiative right here. And you know what? It wouldn't surprise me that this entire storyline revolved around Robert Stone because of Vince McMahon and because Chelsea Green does not fit Vince McMahon's mold of a women's wrestler. And what do I mean by that? Simple. If you're not a person with a famous last name, with a rich family heritage, like Nia Jax or Charlotte Flair, or you don't look like a Victoria's Secret model, and Chelsea Green clearly does not look like a Victoria's Secret model because she's not a Scarlett Bordeaux. She doesn't look like Scarlett Bordeaux because she's not blonde. Chelsea Green can actually wrestle. But of course, Vince McMahon's going to keep her in the back because Vince McMahon does not care about women's wrestling. Really wouldn't surprise me if this had Vince McMahon written all over it. Robert Stone has been the focus of this breakup between him and Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green has not been seen since the breakup. There are no plans to call her up to the main roster. Why isn't she being used? Why isn't she being put out there? Why isn't she being built up as a potential challenger for Io Shirai? That would actually be a great match, Chelsea Green versus Io Shirai. Why wouldn't you want to see that? You had something decent with Robert Stone and Chelsea Green. You had something serious. I didn't mind the partnership whatsoever. Why did you break them up? Terrible. Moving on, we had Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Johnny Gargano. This came about after they got into an altercation while Candice LeRae and Mia Yim were brawling last week. This was a great fucking match. This only went about 13 minutes, but man, these two brought it. These two showed up to work. I could have watched these two fight for another 10 minutes. I really could have. If they wanted to, they could have just had these guys go out there for 30 minutes and do what they do. This was excellent for what it was. So Isaiah Swerve Scott and Johnny Gargano swift back and forth, counter for counter, kip-ups and arm drags and go-behinds, back and forth. Swerve eventually took over control with a Fosbury flop. Gargano came back with a big roundhouse kick and a clothesline. Roll-through flatliner by Isaiah Swerve Scott for a 2 count. I love the roll-through flatliner. I think that's a beautiful variation of the flatliner. We had a slingshot spear by Gargano for a 2. Swerve with the deadlift brainbuster on Gargano. Swerve, let me tell you something. He is actually very, very powerful for his size. That's some great stuff right there. We had Scott with the confidence boost, but Gargano was able to kick out. Swerve actually missed the double stomp on the outside. Gargano hit a poison Rana on the floor in tribute to Candice LeRae right there. And then he hit one final beat on Isaiah Swerve Scott. Isaiah Swerve Scott sold it like Sammy Guevara sells the Twist of Fate. And Johnny Gargano defeats Isaiah Swerve Scott. Great match. Great match here between Johnny Gargano and Isaiah Swerve Scott. If you wanted to go back and rewatch it, please go back and rewatch it. You are not going to regret it. Great stuff from Isaiah Swerve Scott and Johnny Gargano. This could be a potential North American Championship feud down the line if they wanted to go this route. Legato del Fantasma. Legato del Fantasma versus Drake Maverick Breezango. Very standard, I would say the 6-man tag was. Really wasn't anything special. It wasn't bad. I'm not saying the wrestling was bad, but realistically speaking, it really wasn't anything special. Nothing really you're going to go back and rewatch. Nothing really you're going to go back and invest your time in. Nothing overwhelming. Especially after that great match with Isaiah Swerve Scott and Johnny Gargano. It's very hard for anyone to really care about a 6-man tag, even though Legato del Fantasma is great. Me, I don't even know why Drake Maverick is still in this scenario. And to be quite honest with you, he should not be getting a Cruiserweight Championship title opportunity. Yeah, I really do not like that Drake Maverick is the main focus of this. Drake Maverick, let me tell you something. I am happy that Drake Maverick is remaining with the company. But this entire deal, using his real-life firing as a storyline, it's just so unorganic. It's so unorganic. I know for a fact that had Vince McMahon written all over it. I do not like that whatsoever. He's not a bad wrestler, Drake Maverick, but if you are at the forefront of the Cruiserweight division with the Cruiserweight Champion, and you're being pushed over Kushida, Tony Nese, Akira Tozawa. Akira Tozawa's a fucking ninja on Monday Night Raw. Akira Tozawa, you're being pushed over guys like that. Isaiah Swerve Scott. Really? Drake Maverick over all of those individuals? I don't even know. Now, don't get me wrong. The storyline with Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Raul Mendoza, I like it. I love the Spanish Mafia type vibe. I've made it very, very clear that I'm a fan of that. But at the end of the day, if you're pushing Drake Maverick as a potential contender for the Cruiserweight Championship over all those guys I just named, that's disrespectful to all of them. That's disrespectful to Kushida. Especially Kushida and Isaiah Swerve Scott. Realistically, those two should have been in the finals at TakeOver in Your House, and Kushida should have won the interim NXT Cruiserweight Championship. I really don't know why Drake Maverick is still in this scenario. So Legato del Fantasma, they isolated Maverick. Swift double team moves. We had an assisted slingshot moonsault by Raul Mendoza and Santos Escobar aiding Joaquin Wilde. They really look great. As a unit, they look great. Fandango came in, big Falcon arrow to Wilde. Fandango threw Maverick. He military pressed Maverick over the top rope onto Legato del Fantasma, and then did a springboard tornillo, almost like a whisper in the wind, taking down the group. Fandango was then sent knee first into the steps, and they isolated Fandango for the time being until Drake Maverick got the hot tag. He unloaded on Escobar with a wheelbarrow bulldog until all 6 men got involved. Maverick went up to the top rope, but Escobar cut him off, hit the Phantom Driver for the win. Again, very standard, nothing special. It wasn't bad. Legato del Fantasma looked good, and that's pretty much it. Who are they building up for Legato del Fantasma? Well, Isaiah Swerve Scott and Tony Nese put on a great match for almost 30 minutes on 205 Live a few weeks back. And then Isaiah Swerve Scott did call out Santos Escobar. So I definitely wouldn't mind Isaiah Swerve Scott being Santos Escobar's first challenger for the Cruiserweight Championship. It's been over a month, and still, Santos Escobar has not defended the Cruiserweight Championship once. So, you definitely want to, I think you definitely want to get some challengers for Mr. Santos Escobar, and you really want to show us what he can really do in the ring. Because I think that him being put out there in championship matches rather than just this feud with Drake Maverick, I think that's really going to enhance Legato del Fantasma. I do want to see Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde in the tag team division as well, because the tag team division right now, it's really at its weak point. Imperium needs some new challengers, and if you want to build up Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde, I definitely wouldn't mind that. They were on the winning side here with Santos Escobar, so they have some momentum behind them. I definitely want to see Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde. I want to see them in a prime position on NXT. You got the faction, you got the character, you got the look, you got the faction, they got the in-ring ability. Now it's time to get the proper booking. Santana Garrett versus Mercedes Martinez. Mercedes Martinez looks legit as ever. I am loving what they are doing with Mercedes Martinez. Martinez came in looking like a beast, very, very focused, all business. Fisherman Buster for the win. Mercedes Martinez defeats Santana Garrett. I'm not sure where they're going with Mercedes Martinez right now. I don't see her factoring into the NXT Women's Championship title picture anytime soon. Although I do see her as a potential challenger for Io Shirai. We'll find out. We'll find out. It would actually be a very hard-hitting match if they were to cross paths and they were to fight one-on-one. We'll see what happens in that regard. But Mercedes Martinez, looking great. Looking like a beast. I'm loving what they're doing with Mercedes Martinez. Outside of the NXT Women's Championship title match, we also got Damian Priest versus Cameron Grimes next week. And I do believe that Damian Priest is going to finally get his win back, and Damian Priest is going to come out victorious here against Mr. Grimes. I'm sorry, Grime time ain't no time soon. I'm sorry, that was terrible. Anyway, moving on to the main event. Keith Lee versus Adam Cole. Champion versus champion. Winner take all. Overall, the match itself was fine. The match itself was very, very good. Now, I would definitely have loved to see them at a TakeOver, and I definitely would have liked to see them go another 30 minutes or so. I definitely would have liked to see them really put on a longer match, so to speak, so that way it really would have felt like a bigger deal. Because realistically, look, normally when NXT does stuff like this, it feels like a big deal. It really does feel like a big deal, but they really just did this mainly because they just wanted to counter-program All Elite Wrestling, and that I can't really get behind. I'm not sure how you guys feel about that, but you know, that's just me in that regard. I can't really get behind it in that sense because they were just doing it just to counter-program All Elite Wrestling. And yeah, while it worked, at the same point in time, it really is petty. And I really don't want to hear the competition excuse, because I explained last week on the Rewind for the Great American Bash that there's a difference between competition and desperation. This shit was desperate. Very good match, don't get me wrong, but it would have felt like a bigger deal if they would have built it up towards a takeover and they would have given them an extra 15 minutes rather than just a regular 18-minute match on television. It pretty much reminded me of Johnny Gargano and Finn Balor and Keith Lee from a few weeks ago. It was a very good match, don't get me wrong. Very good match, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it really felt flat. It really felt flat in the regard that it wasn't built up to be something special. It was just, hey, here you go. Adam Cole and Keith Lee, all of a sudden, they won each other's championships. So, hey, North American Championship triple threat match, winner faces Adam Cole in 2 weeks. Very good match nonetheless. We had Keith Lee actually driving himself head first into the plexiglass very early on. Lee was able to mount a comeback, a big power slam for a 2. We had a big backstabber to Keith Lee out of the corner by Adam Cole. Keith Lee with a Cesaro-like superplex from the apron all the way into the ring. Love that spot by Keith Lee right there. Keith Lee with a spirit bomb, but Adam Cole got his finger on the bottom rope, similar to how Kevin Owens got his finger on the bottom rope at WrestleMania 33 in his United States Championship match against Chris Jericho. Lee, he pounced Adam Cole, and then he hit a big pop-up spinebuster. Adam Cole was actually lifted over Keith Lee's head for a big 2 count. Lee with a moonsault from the middle rope for another close 2 count. Cole with some super kicks, but Keith Lee was hulking himself up. But Adam Cole kicked out the leg, kicked to the face, big last shot, but Lee kicked out. Cole said, fuck this, hit the Panama Sunrise. We thought Cole was going to win it, but Keith Lee kicked out again. Cole with 3 super kicks, but Lee still stayed alive. Similar to what happened at NXT TakeOver in your house against Johnny Gargano. Cole with a second last shot, but Lee kicked out again. Actually, no, he didn't kick out because Adam Cole did not go for the cover. Excuse me. Keith Lee was hit with a second last shot, but Adam Cole did not go for the cover. He actually went up to the middle rope. He went for a second Panama Sunrise, but Keith Lee caught him in a powerbomb position. He hit the Spirit Bomb, reversed it into the Big Bang Catastrophe, and Keith Lee makes history. Keith Lee becomes the very first man to hold both the NXT and the NXT North American Championships. Very good match. It could have been better, and it could have felt a lot bigger if they put it on a takeover, but they only did this to counter-program All Elite Wrestling. That's just straight facts right there. Very good match, and I'm happy for Keith Lee. I'm happy for Keith Lee. Don't get me wrong. Does Keith Lee deserve it? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, if there is one person that deserves this the most, it is Keith Lee. Keith Lee has had such a great year. Keith Lee has had the best year out of anyone. Keith Lee is in contention for Superstar of the Year. Keith Lee's been one of the best things about WWE, period, throughout this entire year, ever since his performance against Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. Great moment right there. Stood toe-to-toe with Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble. Won the North American Championship. Match of the Year candidate with Dominik Dijakovic at TakeOver Portland. Keith Lee has been doing some of the best work of his career. And if there's one guy that deserves a moment like this, it's Keith Lee. If there's one guy that I would build the brand around and give a moment like this to, it's Keith Lee. But based on what happened afterwards, and the pan out to the rafters, and we saw Karrion Kross and Scarlett laughing as Keith Lee celebrated, I can't get behind this because I know it's to come. This is a stereotypical WWE route. 99% of the time, actually, you know what, I can't even remember the last time someone won 2 championships in WWE and held them for a lengthy period of time. 100% of the time, whenever WWE gives someone 2 championships, they always end up losing one of those championships within a month and a half. They did it with RVD, they did it with Becky Lynch, they've done it with Seth Rollins countless amounts of times. Seth Rollins won the U.S. title from John Cena back at SummerSlam 2015 while he was still the WWE champion, and then he lost it to John Cena a month later at Night of Champions. He won the tag team titles with Jon Moxley towards the end of 2018. And then he lost them 3 weeks later to AOP. He won the tag titles with Braun Strowman when he was the Universal Champion just last year. And then they lost him to Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler 4 weeks later at the Clash of Champions pay-per-view. So why am I going to get excited for Keith Lee winning 2 championships when I know it's to come? Karrion Kross doesn't need the NXT championship. Karrion Kross doesn't need NXT, period. Karrion Kross could go up to the main roster and he'd be fine. Why is Karrion Kross even in the NXT championship conversation? He's won 4 matches in NXT. He's been here for 3.5 months. All of a sudden, that constitutes as an NXT championship, worthy? I don't think so. And you know what, to be quite honest, with Vince McMahon taking over NXT and the reports of him taking over NXT, especially since WrestleMania, I would not be surprised if Vince McMahon is behind Karrion Kross's push. Because he just looks at him and he sees superstar. Just because of his size. Realistically speaking, I really don't understand why Keith Lee couldn't hold these 2 championships for an extended period of time. Why not have Keith Lee, now that he's a double champion? Now, I wouldn't have booked him to win 2 championships. I would not book a double champion, period. But now that he's got 2 championships, why not book Keith Lee to hold these 2 championships for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months? Have him pull double duty on some shows and have him successfully defend both titles in one night. Keith Lee is believable in doing that. Keith Lee is a believable guy in doing stuff like that. He's a guy you could build a brand around. Keith Lee's got everything. He's got the look, he's got the charisma, he's got the mic skills, he's got the in-ring ability. He's got everything that you would want in a superstar. Keith Lee is a guy you could build the entire brand around as a double champion. Realistically, going into 2021, he could hold both titles going into next year. And after you have him hold both of those titles for as long as he has, for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, then when he loses one of those championships, or he loses both of those championships, it's going to make the person or people that beats him for those titles that much better in the end. Instead of having him be a transitional champion, you're pretty much putting the title on Keith Lee to have him drop it to Karrion Kross at the TakeOver before SummerSlam. I don't like that, because Keith Lee is worth so much more than just a transitional reign as the NXT champion, whether or not he still has the North American title in the end. See, I don't understand why you couldn't have had Karrion Kross interrupt this match. Karrion Kross interrupts this match, and he could attack Keith Lee. He could attack Keith Lee because Keith Lee smashed the hourglass. Scarlett gave Adam Cole an hourglass, signaling that Karrion Kross was coming after the NXT championship. Keith Lee smashed it. That's a sign of disrespect towards Karrion Kross and Scarlett. And Karrion Kross and Scarlett saw that Keith Lee smashed the hourglass. So why not have Karrion Kross interrupt this match, and instead of targeting Adam Cole, he could have targeted Keith Lee, and then Keith Lee and Karrion Kross could have fought for the NXT North American Championship at the TakeOver before SummerSlam. Karrion Kross could have won the North American title that way. You would have gotten a believable fight between 2 heavyweights, King Kong and Godzilla, and Karrion Kross would have gotten a championship. It doesn't need to be the NXT championship, but it could be the NXT North American Championship, and Keith Lee would have looked good in defeat, and then you have a challenger for Adam Cole in the fall. Adam Cole could have fought Finn Balor at the TakeOver before SummerSlam, and Adam Cole could have retained against Balor, and then he could have gone into the fall, and then he could have lost the title to Keith Lee, and Keith Lee could have gotten a legitimate reign as NXT champion. And if you wanted to, then in 2021, you could revisit Karrion Kross versus Keith Lee. And you could have champion versus champion, winner take all that way. If you wanted to give either Karrion Kross or Keith Lee 2 championships, you could have done that. You could have built towards them at a TakeOver. You could have revisited that storyline. Karrion Kross took the NXT North American Championship from Keith Lee. Keith Lee won the NXT Championship. Now Karrion Kross is coming after the NXT Championship too. Karrion Kross is trying to take everything from Keith Lee. It would have been a great story. Would have been a great story to tell. Or, like I said, you could just build Keith Lee up over the course of the next few months. You could build him up over the course of the next few months, and then you can have him drop the 1 championship or both championships by the end of the year. Why is Keith Lee NXT champion? Why is he NXT champion? He's the NXT champion because that's a transitional reign for Karrion Kross. And again, I don't like that. I don't like that Keith Lee's just going to be a transitional champion for Karrion Kross, because again, Keith Lee is worth so much more than just a transitional reign as the NXT champion, whether or not he still has the North American Championship in the end. A moment like this is a great moment, yes, but ultimately, if this moment only results in the guy that created this moment losing one of those championships within a month and a half, then how much does this moment really mean in the end? How much does it really mean? How special is it? Yes, he's going to go down in history as the first man to do it, but ultimately, what did he do with those titles? Yeah, he's held the NXT North American Championship since January, but ultimately, he's going to lose the NXT Championship to Karrion Kross. I'm sorry, I don't like that. I really don't like that. It's a very stereotypical formulaic WWE route. The match was very good. I'm very happy for Keith Lee. And let me tell you something. Do not try and misconstrue what I'm saying. If Adam Cole would have won both titles, I would have said the same exact thing. I do not like when someone wins 2 titles in WWE because it more likely than not means that they're going to drop one of those titles within a month and a half. They've done it time after time after time again. And I don't even think you realize how much a short championship reign really devalues the prestige of a championship. It's not about how many times you are champion. It's not about just winning a championship. It's about holding it for a lengthy amount of time and actually establishing a reputation with that championship. Samoa Joe is a 2-time NXT champion. Yeah, fine. He held the NXT championship for how many times? How many days in his second reign? 14 days? Are people really going to remember that? Is that really a reputation to be proud of? Yeah, he's the first 2-time NXT champion, but ultimately, at the end of the day, what did he do with it? Why was Adam Cole's championship reign so great? 403 days, and look at the matches that he had with Tozawa and Gargano and Riddle, Pete Dunne, Daniel Bryan, Finn Balor, Tommaso Ciampa. He kept winning and winning and winning and winning and establishing himself as a legitimate champion. He established himself as a legitimate threat in NXT. He established himself as a legitimate contender. How legit is Keith Lee going to be as the first man to become a double champion if he's just going to drop the NXT championship to Karrion Kross at NXT TakeOver before SummerSlam? How special is that? That's why I can't get behind it. Great moment for Keith Lee. Very good match. Little lackluster because there was pretty much no build to it. They just did it to counter-program All Elite Wrestling. But regardless, still a very good match. Still a great moment for Keith Lee. I'm very happy for him. You're damn right he deserves it. But at the end of the day, it's a stereotypical WWE route to get the title on Karrion Kross. How is anyone supposed to get behind Karrion Kross in this role as the NXT champion, especially after that? You're pretty much shortchanging Keith Lee of a legitimate NXT championship reign. That's why I don't like it. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but please let me know. But ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of the Rewind for NXT, the Great American Bash, night number 2. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this video. We got a lot to talk about tomorrow on the Lightning Flash update. Please tune in. You are not going to want to miss it. Check out all the links in the description. Like, comment, subscribe. Do everything that I just said. You know you want to. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm DJ Storms. This has been The Rewind. I'm going to head to work. Then I got some college work to get done. I hope you guys have a great day. You guys have a great weekend as well. I will catch you tonight for SmackDown, and I will catch you tomorrow for the Lightning Flash update. We got a lot to talk about. See you soon.